Facebook with because my name is somewhere. Sorry. Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. So great to be here. This is day 2 of the Real Estate Conference 2024. I am so excited. And our first speaker is fully pumped and is here with us right now. So we're not going to be wasting any more time. I am very sure that we learned a lot from yesterday's sessions. Today promises to be much more exciting and impactful. So I want us to be ready to learn with our notepads, with our phones, whatever we're going to use to take our notes. Let's be ready to learn. And I'm sure that we will be so impacted by this session today. We're going to be having Barrister James Etsusi. Such a pleasure to have him in the house. I'm just going to quickly read his bio. Okay, so I'm just going to go through his bio quickly. James Etsusi is a seasoned lawyer with over 4 years core practice in real estate law, and is an active businessman in the real estate industry. He is the founder and chief executive officer of Metro Courts Limited, a real estate company based in Edo State, Nigeria. Barrister James is committed to educating investors and property owners of the legal processes and requirements involved in the real estate space in Nigeria, ensuring that they make good profits while avoiding legal mistakes and issues. As an agile businessman and investor, James Etsusi believes in hands-on learning, critical thinking, real-world application, all traits that he has expended in building 2 successful businesses in less than a decade. It is such a pleasure to have Barrister James Etsusi in the house. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Good evening, Mercy. Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope the sound is great.
Loud and
All right,
clear.
beautiful.
Yes, sir. You have the stage, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening, Mercy. Good evening, everybody. It's a privilege to be here again. And I think this is the second edition, right? Pretty sure you had a good time last year.
Yes. It was awesome.
All right, great. So we're looking forward to making this year much more memorable.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's go straight into the matter. And I believe from the memo you sent to me, I think I have about an hour. Then I should also have some time to take questions too.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So we're looking at legal issues that can arise from properties owned by families. Now, we're going to be breaking this down into 3 sections so that it's going to be quite easy for us to look at them one by one. First, we're going to be looking at how to secure your investments, as a spouse in case of a divorce. We're going to be looking at how to pass down your property through a will. And then finally, I just added this as an add-on, because I know most of the audience here will be realtors, and we're looking at how to handle buying properties from the families, because this is one of the issues that realtors normally face in the real estate industry. So we're just going to be
Yes.
taking it step by step, and then when we're done, you have an opportunity to ask questions, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
So is there a way to find out if the audience is engaging during the course of this, maybe comments or we can hear them or something?
Yes, sir. There is a way, although we're still sharing the links.
Okay, okay, great, great, great. Okay. All right, so the first issue we are looking at today is how to secure your investment as a spouse in case of a divorce. Now, in issues like this, now typically one of the things we would normally want to do, of course, we always have a religious bias. I would even want to start from there to say issues like, when people get married, we should not necessarily anticipate cases of divorce, because the whole idea of a marriage is that there's a sense of togetherness and we should be able to share properties together without having any issues. But alas, in the 21st century, we actually have a lot of the harsh realities in our face. And whether or not we like it, we keep on seeing issues online every day about new marriages that are failing and all of that. So it's important people actually know how to handle issues like this. And it's quite important we start out on this note. So, securing your investments in a case like this, when in an event, in the future event of a divorce, how do you secure your investment as a spouse? One of the first things that we normally would ask is who actually owns the property, and that's I think it sounds very common, but this is one of the areas that we see a lot of mistakes being made in the real estate industry, especially in cases of getting a property by a couple. So who actually owns the property? Now, if it's your name as the spouse on the property, then it's a clear and it's a straightforward case. So let's use, for instance, Mrs. Johnson Okoye. If Mrs. Johnson Okoye's name is on the document, then it's clear and it's straightforward. It means that the property, no matter what happens in the future, vests in her and it's with her forever. And it can actually be passed on from her, to our beneficiaries as the list goes on. But in terms of marriage, she doesn't have an issue. When there's a divorce or if there's any of that coming up, then there's no issue at all as to the ownership of that property, right? Now, the question I think most of the challenges in this area now actually rises up when the property is jointly owned by the couple. So if it's jointly owned by the couple, this is where the issue normally starts. So one of the first cases that can happen there is when, for instance, the couple themselves puts resources together to actually buy that property. The husband has been working, the wife has been working, and we're saying instead of just allowing our, instead of just walking around the year and not being sure of, where the money is going to go to, considering the inflation in the country, let's just come together and buy a property. This is where the problem normally starts from. So if you put resources together, right, to buy a property, the case would now actually be it's a joint ownership, the husband and the wife. But one of the common mistakes we see in real estate is the fact that people normally identify. So I already used Mrs. Johnson Okoye as an example. So we have Mrs. Johnson Okoye, and then let's say we have Mr. Paul Okoye. The normal mistakes that we normally see today is we'll see that in executing that deed of transfer, we'll see Mr. and Mrs. Okoye. Now, under the law, there's no such thing as Mr. and Mrs. Okoye, right? It's proper in that joint ownership, for instance, to state Mr. Paul Okoye and Mrs. Johnson Okoye. It identifies two persons in this particular instance. But if you just go ahead and write Mr. and Mrs. Paul Okoye, it even makes it worse. That just vests ownership in just the husband alone. So that's one of the common mistakes we see in joint ownership. So if it's a joint ownership where the husband and the wife put resources together to buy that property, then it means that in that particular case, we must learn how to, specify that it is both the husband and the wife that owns the property. Some wives can even go ahead and say, oh, let's just put it in my husband's name. Husband and wife, we are one. Now, this can happen if there are no if there is no anticipation of any issue in the future, right? But since we're in the spirit of encouraging people to be wise in the 21st century, then we can say that's not the proper thing to do. So let's identify that the property is both owned by Mr. Paul Okoye and Mrs. Johnson Okoye. That's in the case of a joint ownership. Then another case where we then begin to ask questions like who actually owns the properties if it's a gift. Now, if it's a gift from the husband to the wife, then it must be documented. Normally when you give a gift today, it's a gift necessarily is not required to be by writing, but there are certain instances where a gift is required to be by writing, and a land transaction is one of such instances. So a land can only be passed by deed. So if the land is given to you or the property is given to the wife by the husband as a gift, then two kinds of documents can be executed. Number one is the deed of transfer, which is the common one we all know. Now, the issue now normally lies in, so how much would we say the husband sold the land to the wife? Because we normally have issues in that consideration clause. So are we saying where Mr. A is passing it down to Mr. B, then how much is he going to put in the clause? So if you want to avoid all of that issue, the very smart documentation you can do will be the deed of gift. There's actually a document referred to as a deed of gift. Now, the deed of gift would actually show that you gave the gift to the beneficiary, in this case, which is the husband giving it to the wife, to also avoid future cases of maybe fraud or due influence or all of this. I actually had a client that reached out to me, I think 2 months ago, and said we should prepare a deed of gift that the husband was going to give her about 50 million naira to further her studies in the US and all of that. Of course, at first when that came, we started raising eyebrows like, why do you have to document a deed of gift coming from your husband? But like we said, since we are still in the spirit of everybody being wise, right? I think that was actually important. So let's say something happens in the future, she wouldn't not be able to, the family people will not be able to come and say she probably borrowed the money, or she defrauded the husband by collecting that money from him. But there's a deed of gift that has been executed both by the husband and also had the wife, that shows that the money actually was a gift, right? So that's the second case when we now begin to ask, how did you get the property? Then, of course, if it's an issue where you bought the land personally for yourself, then that one is also not an issue at all, because it simply means that it's your name that's going to be on the property. So whose name is on the document, Mrs. Johnson Okoye, it's clear and it's caught. Whether or not there's a divorce, if we are going to be splitting properties, it doesn't affect your interest in that particular case. Now, we can go into some little details along the line, but let's just spare you too much of that talk. So if it's directly that you got the land for yourself, then the document should, of course, be in your name. Or if you actually got it by inheritance, right, then it means that the document would also be bearing your name. That's also one of the ways to secure your interest. Now, when you get it by inheritance, it might have been passed down to you by a will, or maybe the person that gave you the documents, maybe the person that gave you the property did not also prepare a will. Then that's the situation we now call in law that the gift was passed to you intestate. That means that the person died without a will. And of course, when you get that kind of property, the smartest thing to do immediately is to go on and perfect your title. Don't leave it at the deed of transfer stage. Go on, get your registered survey, do your process your COO, and let's ensure that you are the full and proper owner of that property. Right. Now, in those cases, all of these cases I've mentioned, they are actually clear and they are direct. But it's the joint ownership that is the biggest issue we have today. So, what do we do when the property is jointly owned? And we actually have identified that both the husband and the wife own the property. Now, there are two things that can happen. One of the smart things to actually do before you get married is a prenuptial agreement. I don't know if you can still hear me. I think she's disconnected. All right. It's a prenuptial agreement. What's a prenuptial agreement? Actually states the terms and conditions in which we are going to continue or we are going to begin a union. So it clearly states who gets what if there's a divorce, who gets this, who gets that if there is a separation or if anything happens along the line. So what properties are we going to share? What properties are jointly owned? Now, because it is a contract that was signed by both parties before they even get into the marriage, then it's quite easy. If there is a divorce, there are no issues at all. Then another case you can actually look at is in the divorce settlement, the court would actually look into many details to see how they are going to share the properties amongst both the husband and the wife. But this is actually more stressful, especially when it's a joint ownership, like we have said. So we look at certain factors like who's the breadwinner, who brought the most money, and all of those other factors. Who's going to take care of the children, who's going to now have more property. So the court will consider a lot of factors before they go ahead to divide the properties and see how the joint ownership can now be further determined. But this is also one of the cases that we can also look at. So if you want to avoid going down the line of leaving it in the hands of the courts, because the judiciary is not exactly, you can't really tell and say, okay, since it's a joint ownership, the court would give me this one and my tema, and then I will get the other one at the guarantee and all of that. It's entirely left at the discretion of the court. Of course, they will consider a lot of factors involved, but like I said, it's at their discretion. So it's always best to insist on a prenuptial agreement. Now, in Nigeria, we actually consider this a very big deal, right? Like we said, if your home is founded on trust, then I think this should not be so much of an issue. But of course, I'm here to talk about the law, not about emotions, right? So I would insist that if we are going to think of one of the best ways a spouse can secure their legal interest in the property, then a prenuptial agreement is very key. So a prenuptial agreement is there, and then we also look at divorce settlements. In the divorce proceedings, the court can actually determine who gets what and who gets what. So it's a case of where the court will now begin to look at specific terms, specific situations, specific factors. So we can't really say there is a 50-50 sharing ratio, but the court entirely decides that when they have considered a lot of factors that are involved in the entire process. So two key things I said. I noticed you were off for a while. Two key things I said: we consider a prenuptial agreement. We should consider a prenuptial agreement if we don't want to leave our properties at the discretion of the courts in sharing them, or we would actually still leave it at the hands of the courts to decide who gets
Mm,
what. Like I said, there is no fixed
okay.
sharing ratio. So the court doesn't say that's a divorce proceeding. The court doesn't say it's a 50-50 sharing ratio, but the court would actually consider a lot of factors that are involved in that particular situation and then determine how the sharing ratio is going to be. So the prenuptial agreement is actually the most safer option that we have in this case. I think this is even very common, and then in Nigeria, when a husband and a wife live together, and then let's say the husband died at a very young age without children, family members can even step in from the beginning and start to fight for the properties that have been purchased by them. They will insist it's the husband's property and all of that. But you see, one of the ways that we can even fight and deal with all of those issues is still the prenuptial agreement. I know Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians frown at it. A lot of, in fact, I think everybody in love actually frowns at the prenuptial agreement. I actually have somebody that called me at one time, and she actually was crying and was telling me about the fact that her fiance was suggesting they sign a prenuptial agreement. And so the question I asked, because I wanted to put emotions aside, was what exactly is the issue, right? And so she said, the idea of signing a prenuptial agreement actually puts it to them that he actually doesn't love her, or he's scared that they're going to have issues in the future and everything. So if you are going to be, very logical and very calculative, this is your best bet, right? Because when we get to the court in divorce proceedings, we just ask, have these agreements been signed and all of this in place and all of that. So we know that this is a done deal. But in the case where this is not there, then we know that the court is entirely left to the court at the divorce proceedings to determine how the properties will be shared. So those are the two ways we can look at that. But like I said before, also another way we can also look at that is, to avoid too many of these issues, is to ensure that the property is also documented in your own name. So this doesn't apply to properties that are documented that are owned by you personally. But if it's owned jointly, then we can now start, dragging ownerships of these properties. I hope this is clear. I hope everybody can hear me and that you're still with me.
Loud and clear, sir. Yes, sir.
Right, great, great, great. So I'll be moving on to the next aspect of this. I think I'm done in securing your interest. So if there are any questions on this, you can also ask once we are in the question and answer segment. Then I'm moving on to transferring property by will, and I think this is more sensitive than even the first one we're talking about, because when you talk about wills in Nigeria, the first thing that comes to people's mind is, I don't plan on dying anytime soon. Or, we should be talking about how we want to go forward. We should not be talking about how we want to, kill, how we want to die. I mean, nobody, people even tell you nobody plans for death. Death is, of course, like we all know, death is inevitable. But this is one of the areas that touches the very fiber of the Nigerian man. But we actually have to talk about it because it's a legal issue. So, what is a will? A will is a testamentary document, that is voluntarily made, and it's executed by the person that made it. But the most important thing about the will, let me just break all of that fancy grammar down, is the fact that it is a document that takes effect upon the death of the person that makes the document. Now, for a will to be valid, the will has to be signed by the person that executed that document. Sorry, please check the inverter, please. Thank you. All right, power is back. Sorry about that. So for the will to be valid, it has to be signed by the person that executed the will. That is by the person that is making that will. It has to be signed by him, and then we actually have to prove that whoever is making that will actually has the capacity to make the will. No. So why should we make a will? Before we talk about the common knowledge that people have about will in Nigeria, why should you make a will? One of the advantages of making a will is that you will be able to dictate the way your affairs will be administered in your absence. Because you see, the absence of a will would actually leave your properties to be decided at the whims and caprices of whoever is available at that time. Now, I'm sure many of us might have heard some horrible stories over the years about the husband dies, they chase the wife out of the house, took all the properties from them, the brother's wife taken, and all of those obnoxious practices that is found not just in Nigeria actually, but is found everywhere. Now, the idea of executing a will is going to guarantee you from all of the hiccups that is found in the entire system where there is no will to tell the world how you want your affairs to be directed in your absence. It's very important to do that. And then also another importance about having a will is the fact that you get to choose who administers your will. You get to choose who, helps direct the sharing of the properties, because that's also very important. In the will process, upon the death of whoever writes a will, it's called the administration of estates process. You get to pick who is going to be involved in sharing the process, sharing the proceeds, the properties to the various persons, the various beneficiaries in your will. And that's also very important. One of the other benefits of writing a will is the fact that in a case where you have infants or younger children, you can determine who your guardians for those children will be. So it's not just that you are just writing, I'm giving this property to this, I'm giving this property to this. You can literally dictate the affairs of your afterlife here on earth, how your properties will be shared, how your estates will be administered, even in your absence. So a will is that important. I mean, it's really that important. Now, people don't like talking about will, of course, because they feel like after I die, there will be issues between the people I shared properties amongst, and those are the common things that you normally find. So after I die, what would happen? I don't want there to be issues, so let us just leave the whole thing for God. But at the end of the day, you find out that it's your loved ones that will suffer on the long run, because leaving these things in the hand of uncertainty can actually make it very difficult. And at the end of the day, we end up hurting the more innocent ones. And many people actually feel like the Nigerian legal system is not transparent enough in administering these things. That's also one of the challenges we even face. There's also another issue of now I'm going to come here while I explain this issue on wheels, is the fact that actually when it comes to customs and traditions, there's still a little bit of interference in the administering of wheels. I'll come here very quickly. And so people feel since some of these custom and traditions still find a way to step in the administration of will, what's the entire purpose of even going at all? So let's just leave it to how it's going to be. So, for instance, one of the common practices that we have, if you're in Edo State currently, if you're listening to this in Edo State, you should be aware of the Igiobe inheritance system. Now, let me explain that. Now, the Igiobe actually means that the house where a man lives and dies in, right? While the house where a man lived in while he was alive actually translates automatically to his first son. So when you write a will, no matter how you try and put it, no matter how you try and give that house to any other person, it is required that the rightful owner of that house, according to custom, must be the first son. So even if you buy a will that to another person, it will not pass. It is only the first one that is the rightful owner of that property. So since there is now an interference of law and custom in the wills, then people now actually feel like there's really no point pushing for it, right? But I feel some of all of these issues, while they exist, we can also still find our way around them, right? So how should a will be written? First of all, like I talked about land, when we come to dealing with properties, a will must be written, right? It must be written. You can't say I'm going to dictate how my affairs are going to be carried out. Now that can work in customary setting, but there are certain exceptions to that too, and the exceptions are quite tedious. Many times you can even feel like some details might be left out, and that's why it's very important that the will must be written. So the will must be written. It must be made voluntarily. There must be at least two witnesses to actually witness the execution of the signing of that particular will. The testator at the time of the will must have made it in his sound mind, meaning he must, as at the time when he's dictating how the affairs of the will is going to be written, he must have made it in his right mind. As at the time when he signed it, he must have also signed in his right mind, right? It's very important that all of these details must be there. It must be done in the presence of at least two witnesses. It must be in writing. It must be done voluntarily. And then, of course, also something very important that we might easily miss out on when it comes to writing a will is the fact that a will must actually identify a beneficiary and must give a gift to the beneficiary. I hope you're with me. It must actually give a gift to the beneficiary. So, if, for instance, you're saying, I give this car, or I give my Toyota Matrix to Adewale, my son. So he must identify a particular person, and then he must identify the gift that is being given to the person. Now, of course, there are different kinds of gifts in a will. There's a general gift which just says, I give a Toyota car to Adewale. That's general. But when it's specific, I would say I give a Toyota Matrix to Adewale. You can even put the registration number, then you know that is what applies to that particular individual. Or you say, I give any of my duplexes to Adewale, then it means that we can just take any of the duplexes that the individual has and give it to him. But when it's specific, we say, I give my duplex at Banana Island to Adewale, my first son, and you know that's very specific, right? That's very important. But now there are qualifications on who can make a will. According to the Wills Act in Nigeria, that applies to all of Nigeria, anybody below the age of 21 years cannot validly make a will. Anybody below the age of 21 years cannot validly make a will, right? Now, according to the Lagos Law Act, Lagos Wills Law, anybody below the age of 18 cannot make a will. So there's an age restriction to who can make a will. It's very important we take note of that. So, of course, when it's a child, now also like I think if you're very familiar with laws, you will find out that to every law there is always an exception. Now there are certain exceptions when people that are not up to 18 can make a will, and it applies to those that are mariners, those that are on the sea, and those some certain persons in that circle. That's when this law actually applies to. But when we talk about the general application in itself, anybody below the age of 18 in Lagos can make a will. Any below the age of 21, where they don't have a wills law that has been ratified in that state, can make a will. Okay. Yeah. All right. There's also the custom restriction, which is under how wills can be made. There's a custom restriction, like I spoke about earlier on before. There are certain customary practices that can affect the administration of the will. There are certain customary practices that can affect the administration of the will, right? Customary practices, Islamic practices, it can affect the administration of a will. So I talked about the common practice in Edo State, which is the Yobe. Now, no matter how it's going to be, no matter the circumstances, it's actually a popular case like that. It's called Idehe against Idehe. No matter the circumstances, that house in which the owner of that house in which the man actually lived in and died in must be given to the first son, no matter what happens. It can't be given to any other child. It must be given to, sorry, let me specify so that there are no issues with this. It must be given to the eldest surviving son, because in that particular case, there was an elder son that actually died before the man. Now, so there were issues as to whether or not the son of the eldest son should have inherited the property. So the court actually ruled down that the house itself belonged to the eldest surviving son, which was now the next son that was alive after the death of the eldest one. So there are some customary practices that interfere with a will. So if there are known traditions that are acceptable, right? If there's any state that has now said in their own law that there are certain traditions that are acceptable, then the wills law would not apply to those particular cases. So the question would now be, can an Edo man that is subject to Giobe now write a will? Of course he can. It's just that when it comes to that particular house, which is the Igio Grade, nothing can affect it. But every other of his property can issue it, it can bequeath it in a will. So he can give out his cars, can give out any other property apart from that house. Now, it's also a similar position under Islamic law. Under Islamic law, one third of the property, one third of the property that a man owns, or that a testator owns, actually does not belong to his heirs. So his children, his benefactors, can only share two-thirds of his properties. One third of his properties will be shared among, for common good, will be shared, to society, to what we call charity. One third of his property does not belong to him. Two-thirds of the property is only what can be shared by him. So you can see there are some restrictions here and there in the application of will. So these are the things we also need to consider in this wills matter. There are some lines that we would have to draw a line. There's some lines we have to draw when it comes to administering wills. Customs, Islamic practices, these would affect the implementation or the administration of the will. It's that important. Then of course the person that is giving out the directives on how a will should be administered must have done so in a sound mind. Meaning you must be in your right mind as at the time you are writing the will. You must be at the right mind in your right mind as at the time you are giving instructions to your lawyer on how to actually write the will. Now, a question can come up where somebody might ask, what if I have written a will and I want to make a correction? There's actually room for corrections in a will. You can actually correct the will itself, or you can even bring in an entirely new document that will be a supplement to the original will. And in law, we call that a codicil. There's a codicil, so you might have written a will that you are not so comfortable with the terms of the will. Then you can actually write out another will, another supplementary document, which would now state your new interest, which is what we now refer to as a codicil. But the idea of a codicil is that it will now supersede the previous will that you have written. So yes, a will can be amended. There are different types of gifts under a will. Specific gifts, like I said, they are generic gifts, and they are also demonstrative gifts. So in specific gifts, you are identifying the particular gifts that you are giving out to certain individuals. Like I said, I'm giving my Toyota Matrix FKJ 981 JZ to Adewale, my first son. I'm giving my dog to Mr. Ola, my driver. That's very specific. But if it's general, I'm giving any dog in the house to Mr. Ola. I don't know if you're getting the whole idea. So general, that's when it's general, and then there's also the case where it is specific. So when you write a will, it's important that you identify the particular person you are handing over whatever property to. Landed properties should be written in a will, because at the end of the day, if there is no will, it's the family members that will come and sit down together, and decide how we share the land amongst everybody, and to be against your own best interest. You might have not actually wanted the property to be administered in that particular way, and that's why it's best you should have a will. Now, if there are any other questions along the line of the will, you can also still ask that during the question and answer segment. Now, let me just go down to the very last part of this class, and I'm just going to rush this on because I'm almost out of time. So how do we go about buying a family property? Now, if you are dealing with a reputable real estate company, many times they've already done all of this many work for you. So you're not buying directly from the family. You're just buying straight from the company, and the company must have done all their background checks, bought directly from the family on your behalf. But I'm saying, how about when you want to get a land for a client, and it's a family land, a land owned by a family, and this is very common in Lagos. Actually, it's common everywhere in those states, because before the Land Use Act was actually brought in, we had lands were primarily owned by families. So when the government came in, and when the Land Use Act was even actually brought in, we will now find out that most of those lands were taken by the government, but then the lands were now handed over back to the family, and that's what we now know as excision. So the lands that are handed back to the family will now be those lands. We will now say those lands have been excised. Now, if the excision process was actually successful, then it means that it must be gazetted. So when you see a land has been excised to a particular individual or to a particular family, then it means that always ask for the gazette, because it's also very important. It's not enough to say, oh, it has been excised, the land has been gotten by excision, but there's no gazette to actually prove that it has been gotten by excision. all of these things must follow in line with the succession. It's that important. So what do you do if you are to buy land from a family? Who are the important persons? Who are the relevant persons you need to be dealing with? In Lagos, we call them omomile. It means they are the owners of the land, family land owned by families. Now, in law, the appropriate parties to be dealing with when you are buying a family property is you need to deal with the family head and at least two principal members of that family. A situation where you are going to buy a land and the family head is not aware of such transaction, it leaves the arrangement as a void one, meaning that it's not a valid arrangement. In a situation where, for instance, just the family head is aware and two principal members are not aware of the situation, aware of that particular transaction, then it's a voidable one, meaning that it's not correct entirely, right? So at the end of the day, we can still void the transaction, but that is at the option of you bringing it up and at the option of issues even coming up to show that there's something wrong with that transaction. So it's now up to you to go and rectify whatever the challenge is that is interfering with the defect in the title. So the main person to ever buy a land from, main person is family head and at least two principal members. Now you can have more than two principal members, but the family head must be involved, and at least two principal members must be involved. You must also make sure that they identify the particular property they are giving to you. Now, one of the tips we normally give to you can hear me. I've been having issues with my network.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me? All right, great. Can you hear me, please? Can you
Hello,
hear
sir. I
me?
can hear you, sir.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello, everyone. So sorry about um the break in transmission. We hope to have a guest shortly. So I can see that we've been learning a great deal so far. So amazing session about property law. I mean, this is the part of real estate that most realtors don't want to know about, but it's very important, and I'm learning personally. So I want you to keep on sharing what you're learning, keep on being active, and prepare your questions as well. Rather. Hello, sir.
Hello. Please let me know. Can you hear me? Oh,
Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
I'm seeing disappear or something. What network do you have? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Hello, can you hear me? Is it better now? Still not hearing me.
Sure that you can
Can you
hear
hear
me.
me?
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Hello, everyone.
Please let me know if you can hear me.
Hello, sir. Is that all you sent?
All right, I think
Hmm?
sounds like
So sorry about the network glitches. We hope to be back very soon. So sorry about the network glitch. Meanwhile, so far we've learned a lot about family law. At least that's agreement, not the fact that the spouse does not love you. Okay, I think Barrister James is back here. Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can.
So I think your mic is muted. I can't hear you.
you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Mercy, are you with me? Sorry.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? I think your mic is muted, sir.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? No, it's not. It's not. Can you hear me?
Okay.
It's not. Can you hear?
Okay. We can hear you.
That for whatever reason the internet stopped working, I had to find an alternative line to try and work that out. I think that took about 10 to 15 minutes. So um, I'll just rush up the remaining part of my conversation. I was talking about buying a family land, and I talked about the important parties you need to buy the land from has to be from the family head and at least two principal members in that family. Now, if you're buying from any other person in the family, then you are not getting from the verified source. And I was talking about the importance of having a surveyor with you on site, because it's one thing for the family to point out a land to you, it's another thing for you to take your surveyor, take the exact coordinates of the land you want to buy, run the search through in the land registry to make sure that everything checks, and then you can actually go ahead and perfect your title after that. And that's important in buying the family land. And how do you avoid issues where, you know, the family head now goes ahead to sell the same property to different people over and over and over and over again? That's one of the. So there's due diligence. Everybody keeps on saying do your due diligence, do your due diligence. There's also that which what we refer to as local intelligence, because if you are going to make sure that your land is safe, you have to be friends with people in the community, ask questions there, do your for instance, it's not an estate property. Make sure you have at least a corner piece or fence around the property. Then from time to time, you go there, clear it, make friends with people in the environment, and of course, tell them to keep an eye on that property for you. If anybody comes there, let them be able to ask questions. And then, of course, during festive periods like Christmas, you have to send down fowl, send down goats, at least yams to show that you are still there together. So that local intelligence is also very important. It's going to help you, stand your ground to ensure that your property is safe, even though you are not there physically. Periodic checks, knowing people in the environment, and of course, doing something in the land. That's what we call taking possession in law. Ensure that you have done something on the land, at least put fence. Normally we say buy sand, but over time we've actually found out that sometimes that still is not enough proof of ownership. So if it's just to do a corner piece or maybe 2 or 3 coaches of fence on the land, that's also very great. Then go ahead and perfect your title. If any other person buys a property that they don't have a perfect title to, then they are the ones at loss. On the long run in litigation, it will actually show that the property doesn't belong to them, because if you have a seal of O to that property, then it shows that you are the actual owner of the property. Right. So I think with this, I've come to an end of my 3 different topics on issues that can arise in lands, properties owned by a family. Now, if you have any questions, I think can handle that aspect so that we can take questions.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you
Can you hear me, sir?
very much.
Can you hear me, sir?
Doing something in that. That's what we call taking possession with law. Ensure that you are doing something in this event. Normally we say guys sound, but
Hello, sir.
doing something in that. That's what we call taking possession with law. Ensure that you are doing something in that event. Normally we say guys sound,
Hello, sir. Hello. All right. Um, it was such a great time. So we want to take questions on property law, on will, on everything property law. If you have questions, can just drop them in the comment section. I can see some persons on Facebook and also on YouTube. So if you have questions, Barrister James will join us shortly and take your questions. This is a very, very serious part of whether you are a buyer, whether you are a seller. It is something that you want to just know. You want to know. Okay, I think recently I attended a conference, a real estate conference in Port Harcourt, and the barrister that spoke said something. He was like, you want to sell properties, but you've not even read the popularity of title. You've not read about it. You want to sell properties, you don't know your documentation. You want to sell properties, you don't know the Land Use Act. that goes to everybody. 'Cause some places have never opened the Land Use Act to check what it really entails, to check what it's all about. Because actually, that's where everything has to start from. So it's very, very important. So I'll just add. eh, Let me check. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. Good evening, Nelson.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, sir. This was a very, very timely session, personally, and I'm sure for a lot of persons also. So we just want to take questions before we let you go, sir. So if you have questions on
All right.
Facebook, on YouTube, please you can drop it in the comment section, and Mr. James will quickly take them. Questions, questions. Let me check Facebook. Let me check. Okay, I think before we say any question, I think I just want to ask about the prenuptial agreement. So basically, what you said about, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, sir. Can you? Okay, okay.
Yes.
I wanted to ask. Okay, so from what you explained, were you trying to say that if there is that agreement, then there will be no need for the divorce process? Like it won't, is it like it won't be cumbersome as it would have been, or it will be already settled what each of the spouses own? Or so I want to really understand what is the place of that agreement as opposed to the divorce if it was not there initially and if it was there. I don't know if you get my question, sir.
Yes, sure, sure. Now, what is the place of the prenuptial agreement when divorce? So it means that normally we don't have to go through that. There's a certain part where we then begin to start asking who actually owns which asset and who's going to leave the marriage with what assets. Now, it means in that case there was no prenuptial agreement. Now, the prenuptial agreement just simply means that at the onset of the marriage, we get to say if there's breach of this marriage, if there's divorce at the end of the day, this particular percentage of this property would be owned by you. This particular percentage of this property would be owned by you. Right. I think for some popular celebrities, they actually do that. I currently know some, but I'm trying to be a bit careful not to go about mentioning. Right, an American actor that's currently it's popular news that one of the reasons why he's still holding on to the marriage is basically because of the nuptial agreement they signed. That at the end of the day, if the marriage fails, the wife ends up going away with all the property or the most of the property. So it's as clear cut as saying this particular percentage, this that property, what asset and all that. Then for some, they even go as clear as saying you don't own any property if we get to divorce. So that clear. So it saves us all the stress of having to put down that line, fighting over joint ownership of properties and all of that.
Okay, okay. Very
Yeah.
clear, sir. Okay, I'm not really seeing any for now. I think I started seeing some questions even from yesterday's session, after the session. So I think if we have any question, maybe later or maybe some parents are having network issues this evening, um, I'll direct them to you, sir.
All right, that's great.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time, for the knowledge shared. Very, very appreciated. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us in the Real Estate Conference 2024. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. Wow, that was wonderful. That was thought provoking. That was a lot. Personally, I think the prenuptial agreement is not a bad idea actually. So even if people will doubt your love for them, doubt everything, and now have to be going through the whole stress when we want to have our divorce and everything. I think you just got to do it initially and stop putting emotions in it. Or um, the part of customary marriage is just basically to show that okay, you guys were married by law. But if that agreement is not there, it still means that you have not apportioned various properties to the various spouses or each spouse. Until that agreement is done, that's when you can really say that oh, the customary marriage or the court marriage will really stand. But then it also helps to a great extent in facilitating properties when a spouse dies and everything. So if you have questions, please you can put them in the comment section and we will get it to Barrister James. It was such a pleasure having him. All right, so we're going to be having the next session quickly. Oh, I said it that somebody was going to ask a question. Okay, Mr. Okpe Victor Umar, thank you so much for being here. What if in a case where the government decides to take my land property and I am not satisfied with their compensation? What can I do as an individual? Okay, sir, so we are going to direct this question. I'm sure this question is directed at Barrister James. So I'm going to direct it to him and get answers from him, and I'll also put it here on YouTube, or if you are on our participant group, we'll also send a message privately to you if that is fine. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be moving to the next session right about now. All right, so we're going to be having a second session by yours truly, Dr. Mercy Agbede. I am so happy that we are all here, the Real Estate Conference 2024, and it's such a dream come true because the main purpose of this whole conference, how this conference came about, was the fact that I realized that as I began my journey, there were not so much knowledgeable persons to guide me on this journey. The persons that I knew that had knowledge were very far from me and they were not really approachable. So it was not so easy to learn about the business, about how to satisfy clients, about what to do and what not to do. So I told myself that when I grow in this business, I'm going to organize a conference where I will share this information with realtors alike and even investors that want to learn about investing. So that is how the Real Estate Conference came to be. And so far it has been amazing. We've had great speakers, amazing speakers in the industry, and it has been value back to back. So this is very quickly about questions that investors should be asking, and I also share a bit about my journey as a realtor to also speak to realtors or aspiring realtors in the house. So please let me know if you can hear me. I want to be sure that you can hear me and that you are following. Let me know in the comment section if you can hear me and you are following. Okay, so let me trust that you can hear me. All right, so I will be talking about questions that investors should be asking, because the only question that investors ask in this part of the world is, does the property have a CFO? That's the only question they ask, and that is not the only question you should be asking. As far as that's an important question, that is a question you should ask, but it is not the only question you should be asking. It is not even the first question you should be asking, because CFO is not the only title. CFO is not the only property title, is not the only documentation on the property. There are amazing other amazing property titles. We have the registered survey. The registered survey gives the coordinates of the land. Tells that, okay, this land is to this part, and this land extends to this part. This is the width, this is the length, and everything. That is what the registered survey does, and it is registered. And so you can scan whenever, if you bought a property, if you are here, you bought a property, or you are a realtor already practicing, you realize that in some surveys you see a QR code on the survey, attached to the survey. That QR code, if somebody scans that code, is going to is going to put is going to show where the property is located, the state, the exact location, the surveyor has surveyed that property. So a registered survey is one of the best property documents. So CFO is not the only property document you should be looking at. And also, we also have a session. A session shows that, okay, this property has been excised by the government, as the word as implies. It has been excised, it has been separated. This property was known to be a government property before, but the government has now differentiated this part for so and so company, for so and so community. So extension is also a very great part, because it's to have the authority of the government on it. We also have many parties like Gazette, governance consent. So CFO is not the only document, and so it's not the only question an investor should be asking. So I'm going to be talking about few questions. There are many others, but few and foremost questions that investors should be asking rather. So number one I have here is that they should be asking, where is the land located? You should be asking, where is the land located? In fact, the first question you should ask yourself, actually, because it's not a question you're asking the realtor, it's not a question you're asking the company, and that's why I didn't put it as the first question. But it's the question you should actually ask yourself first. What is my purpose of purchase? Why do I want to buy this property? Do I want to start building immediately? Do I want to buy and hold for a period of time, and then maybe I resell later? Do I want to um, use it for agricultural purpose? Do I want to use it for hospitality purpose? Oh, okay. Okay, Victor said I can hear. Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you. All right. So, do I want to build now? Do I want to resell after a while? That's the first question you should ask yourself as an investor. And so when you ask that question as an investor, you can now ask the realtor and be like, this is why I want to buy my property. So what location is best for this purpose? So see, the first is to ask yourself what purpose, and then the next thing you now need to ask the realtor or the company is, what location will suit my purpose. So what location will suit my purpose? Since I don't want to start building now. Will a far location, will a distant location be okay for me, or I have to stay in a place that is already fully developed? If you want to start building immediately, like almost immediately, like you're buying the land today and you're building next month, and you might finish building that very month or finish building the following month, it means that that place should already be inhabited by people. You should not be buying in a very far location. You should not be buying in a location that is not going to open up till after 2 years, or after 5 years. You should be buying in a built up location. But if you're not looking to build immediately, then you can buy what you call an emerging location that does not have a lot of development. When I mean development, people living in it, because there are two types of development actually. Because there is development of people, and the development of or government projects, private projects. So if there are private projects in that area, there are companies, there are institutions, and there are government projects. Maybe the government is working on a major road, they are working on a big factory, a big refinery, and all those things. So if there are other developments, and even if the place is not inhabited by people, you can't location because you know that the prospect is good and you are going to earn so much return in time. So that is not a location you can be looking to build immediately in because people have not started living there. When you start living in the location, you will have to live with people, right? You cannot be living on your own. You cannot be living deserted. You want to be sure of your purpose, and then when you are sure of your purpose, you can now ask your realtor what location suits my purpose. So you see, it is not only CFO that investors should be asking. This is an important question you should be asking. All right. Then the second thing is, what is that location zoned for? What is that location zoned for? There are different zoning regulations. There are locations that are zoned for agriculture, which means that you can only farm in that location. You can only do farming. You can only cultivate crops. But there are some locations that are zoned for residential. Locations that are zoned for commercial. Commercial is hospitals, supermarkets, refineries, big projects that are not where people live, where people, you know, turn to their place of livelihood, the place where they stay. So you want to be sure because you don't want to come back after a while, after a year, sorry, or after a few months, and then you are told that at this location you can't build in it, so it's zoned for agriculture, it's for only agricultural purpose, and you are disappointed because you're already in the stage that you are going to live with your family or live in that location. So please and please, you want to ask your realtor, what is this location zoned for? Is it zoned for agriculture? Is it zoned for residential? Can I build my home in it? Or I can only have my farm in that location, or I can only have hostels or commercial projects in that location. So you want to ask, what is this location zoned for before you buy, so that you know what you are putting your money into and know what you are going to be doing in months or years to come. All right. So please let me know in the comment section if you are learning something, if you are really getting what I am saying. All right. And the next question is, what are the plans for the estates? Most times these days we buy into estates. You hardly see people that, but the people still buy from community, the people still buy from Enoge. Here in Benin, because I'm based in Edo State, Benin, we have our Enoge, we have our chiefs, we have our Oba, the same way it is in most places though. So some people will be like, I want to buy from the Enoge, I want to buy from community, and it will be safe. I'll just do my due diligence. Fine, no problem. But you should be asking them, asking the realtor or the company, if you are buying from a company, what is the plan for the estate? Are there going to be buildings? Are there going to be a certain kind of buildings? Are there going to be road networks? Is there going to be a perimeter fencing around the full estate, or it is just the gatehouse? It is just the gate in front of the estate, or there's going to be full fencing around the estate. So you want to ask and you want to be sure what are the plans for the estate. That will also guide you to know what you should be buying into. Because there are some estates where they don't do perimeter fencing, they don't do complete fencing around the estate. They just tell you that, oh, it's you that will maintain the estate yourself, that's your plot yourself. You can do a small fence around your plots, which is what we call a short fence. People call it monkey fence. Or you can do a plot demarcation. Just do a fence around the four corners of your plot. So that will be determined if you know the plans of the estate. You will not be able to make that decision. Be able to make a better decision when you know the plan of the estate. But if you don't ask, if you don't know the plans of the estate, it means that you might not do it the right way. You might have it in mind that, okay, they are going to fence, and later you are told that there's no fencing going on, and you are disappointed, or you are not happy at all. So it is very important you ask as an investor for the plans for this estate. Okay, and the next one is the measurement of the land. This is very, very important. In fact, I'm very impressed when I see some of my prospects or old clients ask me, what is the measurement of this estate? It is very important. It's not only documents of what is the measurement, because measurement differs from place to place. Measurement differs from location to location. I have done a lot of videos on this measurements because it's very, very important because I started selling properties first of all in Lagos when I started real estate, and then when I started selling in Benin, people started asking, but isn't all 500 square meter people used to call it in Benin? I'm like, no, 500 square meter is in Lagos, is in Ibadan, is in some other places, but in Benin, we don't have it as 500 square meters. In fact, our full plot is much more higher than the full plot that they have in Lagos and Ibadan. So basically, let me go through it quickly. Land measurement differs from location to location. So, and things that affect land measurements, that's the amount of land that can be given to people to sell, that can be given to companies to sell, that companies will be willing to give out to their clients. It depends on the projects in that location. So, in a place like Lagos, where there are big projects, where there are massive projects, sorry, in a place sorry okay, so in a place like Lagos, because of their massive projects, their big projects, the refineries, the road networks, Alaro City, these projects are taking much space, and because they are taking much space, it's going to affect the land mass, or the quality of land. I'm sorry about the noise interruption. Okay, so I was saying that because of those places that have large projects, big projects, it now means that they won't have so much land to give out to people, to give out to clients, to give out to companies. There won't be enough land mass. But in a place like Benin, where we don't have as much big projects as those projects in Lagos, we have a lot of land mass to give out to clients. So in Benin here, for example, our full plot is more than 900 square meters. That's full plot of 500 square meters in Lagos, in Ibadan. Our full plot here in Benin is more than 900. At best, 900 square meters. But sometimes you could even have it as high as 924 square meters and the rest. So that's our full plot. And our full plot is measured as feet, first of all, before you convert to square meters. Because here in Benin, our standard of measurement is feet by feet. Our full plot is 100 feet by 100 feet. Our half plot is 50 feet by 100 feet. So when you now do the conversion to square meters, since square meters is like the um, general land measurement tactic, or general land measurement um, weapon. We normally use square meters almost everywhere now, so we now convert to square meters as well. But our square meter, you cannot be using the eye you used to look at our square meters in Benin and be like, but Benin is giving me 900. Why is Lagos giving me 500? No, that is their standard of measurement. Lagos measurement is not up to 100 feet by 100 feet. Theirs is 60 by 120 in Lagos, and most times in Ibadan too. So you can see that the land measurements cannot be the same, and it's going to be different. And so you have to ask the location you are buying into, what is the land measurement in this location? What is a full plot measured as? What is half plot measured as? So that you know what to do. You know what you are putting into, what if what you want to build will be enough for that location. For example, our 100 by 100 feet, that our full plot in here, you can do a lot in that full plot, but you may not be able to do as much as you will do in our full plot in Lagos. Why? Because obviously it is not as big as our own in Benin here. So you want to ask that question. Very, very important. Okay. Then before you now even get to title, you want to ask, when can I sell or build? When can I resell? If I'm going to be reselling, when can I resell? If I'm going to be building, when can I be? Can I start building immediately? You want to ask. Can I start building immediately, or I have to wait till so and so time before I start building? Because there's some place that will tell you that, okay, you start building, and you can only start building when you get building approval. While there's some place that once you've settled the estate, you've paid the amount, you've paid for your first demarcation, you can start building. But there's some place that will tell you that you must get your building approval which is actually very good. It's great to have a building approval from the government, from the authorities in that location before you start building. So that whatever happens in future, you will know that you have your documents, your building approval with you, and you can defend whatever you are building or whatever comes to play at that time. So you want to ask, when can I start building? When can I resell? So you don't want to. I had a client that was telling me this year he bought a property last year. The party is the land banking property. Land banking is that, as the term implies, banking. You are putting the way you put your money in the bank for a period of time. It's the same thing with land banking. You are keeping that land for a period of time. So you're not looking to build immediately. You're not looking to resell immediately. You're going to be reselling after a while. That's why it's called land banking. You're banking on that land for a period of time. So that land was a land banking, and it was bought in a location that is not fully um fully lived by people. People are not really living there. So he told me that he wants to resell. He told me this, the client told me that he wants to resell this, and I told him that this was not our agreement. We already said that you're going to resell in 5 years at least. 5 years at least, because that is land banking for you. You want to wait till a while when the developments that are coming up, when they are fully development, maybe there's a road that is being worked on, that is being constructed. You want to wait till that road is very, very much in action. People are walking the roads, cars are walking the roads. So that's when you want to be looking to build. Or when more people are beginning to come into that location to live, that's when you can now build or when you can now resell. So it's good to know and ask so that you don't get surprised when you are being told that you can't build or you can't resell. So I told the client that, sorry, sir, you can't resell right now. I already told you to wait for 3 years or for 5 years, which is better. That's when you will have more value on your property. Then you sell higher, you get more value for your money or for your property rather. So after you have asked all these questions, that's when you will now be asking, what is the title? Is this CFO? Is this survey? But this question should come first. This question should come first. Then quickly before I finish this aspect of investor, is the part of the misconceptions some persons have about real estate, especially those that are looking to invest, those that have invested already, some misconceptions that they have about real estate. So some people feel that too much capital is needed. I need to have millions. I need to have billions. I need to have so much money to invest in real estate. And that's not true. You can start with emerging locations. I was talking about this some days ago when we're prepping for our real estate conference this year. And I was saying that I know about at least 3 persons or 5 persons that invested in their first property last year when we had 2023 edition of the real estate conference. And they didn't look at eyebrow locations. They didn't look at Lagos, Abuja, where they are selling for millions of naira. They started with emerging locations that, as long as there are projects in that locations, there are roads constructed towards that property. There is a major third road there. There are projects in that aspect. Government is launching projects, is flagging up projects in that location. Then you can invest in that location, even if it's not fully built up, even if people are not living there yet. And those were locations that those persons looked at and they invested. They bought their first property. So the idea of you require large capital is not entirely true. You can start small and scale as you go. The same way we scale our businesses, we all have businesses that we run, and it's the same way you can scale up in investing. You start with a location, and then before you know, you can buy properties in Lagos, you can buy in Abuja for millions of naira. If you keep waiting to when you have the millions, you keep missing out. You keep missing out, and you won't be able to make out all that is in that location, all that location can offer you. Okay. And another misconception that some persons have is that any party that does not have a CFO is not genuine, which is not true. I just said it. I just explained earlier on that there are so many property documents. There are so many property documents. There is a session, there is survey. So for you to say that it's only CFO that is a genuine document for a property, it is not true. In fact, recently a client was telling me that You didn't tell me that this property did not have a C of O. It did not have a C of O. C of O. I wanted to have a C of O and all that, and he was making a big fuss about it. Normally, I tell all my clients what is involved. Maybe he forgot about it. So it is very important that you know that C of O is not the only genuine title on a property. So there are other property documents, as I said earlier. You can replay this recording and watch that. Then quickly, as I round up, I'm just talk about some lessons that I have learned as a realtor. Some lessons that I have learned as a realtor. I've been practicing as a realtor for close to 4 years now, and I will tell you for a fact that this 4 years has felt like 10 years. It has felt like 20 years sometimes because of the lessons I've learned, the mistakes I've made, and the way I have always bounced up stronger. So I want to share my lessons, especially for the routers in the house and the aspiring routers in the house. I am very sure that it's going to guide you on your journey. It's going to be something you can definitely add to your journey as well. So first of all is that investors want what they want. Investors want what they want. Like what I mean by that is that you can hardly change your mind. Fine, you might feel that you have changed your mind, but they will come back and tell you that this is not, you know, that this is not what I actually wanted to buy, Sha. Or when you now start talking about that property later on, now be like, hey, this was the one that was really on my mind. So investors always want what they want. They hardly change their mind on something. And if you can get them to change their mind, ensure that you are getting them what is very close to what they want. Don't give them something very, very different from what they want. So a client bought a property recently. Initially, he wanted to get a property in a location around Ugbo. If you are here and you are conversant with Bini, you will know Ugbo. So he wanted to get a property around Ugbo, but later on when he found out about something, he said, no, he's not going to get it, but he's going to get another location. But that location as well is not far from Ugbo. And that location also has the same kind of development that the one at Ugbo has. So if you don't give them something close to what they want, they will still come back to you and disturb you again. And this is not what I actually wanted. So I have learned that investors want what they want, and you must try to give them what they want or something very close to what they want. Okay? All right. Another thing is that they are willing to make any commitment if you don't hold back any information. Because I was at the real estate conference I was talking about, the realtors conference I was talking about, and we're going on a tour to see the properties in Port Harcourt there. And I heard some persons on the tour bus saying that you don't give the client all the information. You can hold back some information, hold back. And I was like, really? Hold back information? Trust me, you don't want to go that route. You don't want to go that route. Because when they find out, they are going to lose complete trust in you. So there is no point holding back any information. If you feel that holding back the information is because you feel that they won't be able to spend as much, then still tell them. Find a way to tell them. But telling them after they've paid or letting them find out on their own is going to cost you a lot. Even if it doesn't cost you, you feel that you have gotten your commission at that point. You have made your money. They paid you your 10%, your 15% commission, your 5% commission, your 7% commission. Even if you feel you have made your commission, they will still come back for you when they find out. So it's best to just tell them the truth. Do not hold any information. Don't hold any information. Tell them the truth. They will still make a commitment. They will still do or go for that property if that property is worth their time, if it's worth their money. If they have the finances, they will still go for it. But you have to be true to your words. You have to. Even yesterday during Mr. Goswell's session, he even said the same thing. He said something, and he says that the more you lie, the more you crucify your brand. Because he talked about branding for realtors. The more you keep lying about properties, say, look at it, look at it, so no place, or it is this and that. While meanwhile, it is not it. The more you keep lying, you are killing your brand. People will keep losing interest in your brand. Whenever they see you, they just swipe up. They don't want to hear or see what you are doing or what you have to say. And I don't think that's the kind of person you want to be. That's the kind of brand you want to build. So I would really advise you to not hold any information. Find a way to tell the that from my coach, as in she just told me that there is no point hiding any information. Find a way to tell them. Always find a way to tell them. And she told me that that is one of the things that have kept her in the business, floating, even booming in the business. Because she does not hide anything. She will tell you the way. She will tell you that, because some clients will ask that, are you going to do a fencing around my property? That's another question that you can also ask as an investor. Are you going to fence my property, or am I the one that is going to pay for the fencing myself? Some clients will feel that it's you that will fence the property yourself, that the company will fence it for them, that their own plus will not be general fencing. So you want to be sure and tell them that no, is you that will pay the amount for the fencing, see the amount for the fencing. Why what the company does is just general fencing, but you are the one to pay for for your own plus. You don't tell the client that. Don't tell the client, yes, we'll fence it for you. Don't worry, we'll fence it for you. Just pay at that time. No, 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 because when they find out later, they will lose interest. They can even sue you if that is not taken. They've sued companies. It's not news that they sue real estate companies. So don't feel that they can't sue you. Don't feel that they can't they don't sue companies anymore. Somebody even told me that as at few months back, the company was sued. So it is very, very it's better to play the game safe and come out unscathed, uninjured. All right. Then another thing that learning from experience has helped me more than reading or studying books. That is the gospel truth. I even shared a post some days ago that I talked about it yesterday too, how I was trying to read and read and read, and I was not really getting the gist until I started watching live programs. Even if I was not there, I was able to attend programs physically. I started watching the virtual programs, and it really helped me. So please get experienced teachers. Don't feel that I will buy this book, this cash flow real estate. I will buy this book by Dr. Stephen Akintayo. I will buy this book by Sade Cash. I will buy. Fine, there is the role of books, but you see the role of experienced teachers. I cannot overemphasize it. That's the truth. So learn from them, learn from them, learn from them, follow them, see their lifestyle, what their lifestyle is, how they go about property inspection, allocation, see how they do it. And I can show you that if they are making so much success in their business doing those things, you also will make success if you go that route. So please learn from experience. Just don't just follow only their books, or only if you have an opportunity to be in programs. One thing that helped me also was that I always wanted to be in a program that Madam Landlady was in. Yes, that's my coach. So I always wanted to be in her programs. If she's having a program in this place, in that place, in this place, in this place, I always wanted to be there. Even when I didn't have the finances, when I didn't have so much, when I not started selling properties, because I sold properties. I said in my first year of selling properties, I only made sale towards the end of that year. So throughout that year, I was struggling and struggling until I started following her, adhering to what she told me. That see, do this. She even talked about it yesterday too. Consistency. She sold a party for. She sold one particular party for one full month. She talked about just one party for one full month. So when I following her steps like that, it helps me. So that's the role of experienced teachers. When you allow them to put you through, make your journey smoother. Okay. Also, be willing to make compromises for your clients. Be willing to make compromises for your clients. Don't be like my boss did not give me discount, so I cannot give the client discount. Recently, a client got two plots. He got two plots, and because I reached out to my boss before about someone that got two plots, and he wasn't disposed to give a discount at that time, I just concluded I didn't want to, send him a message again. So I gave the client a, I gave the client the discount from my end, from my commission. So I told him that okay, My boss might not be able to give you a discount, but I'm going to give you this discount for my commission. So be willing to do that. What would the discount cost you? Imagine you are earning 10% commission. What will it cost you to give 3% or 2% to your clients just to make that sale? Meanwhile, if they see that you don't want to, so if they see that you don't want to go the extra mile, you don't want to make any concession for them, they might just lose interest and say, it's too much now. Fine, some of them will still go ahead with the transaction, but not all. Not all. So that you should not just conclude and be like, he go buy, he will come back to me, he will DM me, he will message me. Okay? How sure are you that he will message you? So please and please be willing to make concessions for your clients. As you're making those concessions, they will bring up more to you because they know that you are willing to sacrifice and they will bring more clients to you. So make concessions from your commission. Don't always depend on if your boss is not willing to give your MD, your boss is not willing to give commission, give from your end. And I can assure you that that is something that has helped me so far. And to keep happening, give gifts to them. Even Madam Melody talked about it yesterday, their anniversary, their birthday, celebrate them. That's something that touches clients because they have all the money in the world. At least they have the money to a good extent, and sometimes even more than a doctor. So what you now need to do is to give them, make them feel loved, make them feel that you are concerned about them, you care about them, not just about their money, but you care about them, their family, their wife is celebrating birthdays, their children are celebrating birthdays. What does it take you to send gifts or to even send a message and say, "Oh, happy birthday, baby"? That's so maybe is their baby, that's their child. What will it take you? So you can be concerned about them. That way, it will boost their cooperation with you every time. The lastly, what I have here is you work with the company you work with is very, very important. I mean, Madam Naledi talked about this yesterday that work with a company that has structure. This is extremely important. Like, and I was saying that I was going to share about it today too. So personally, I worked with a company that has drained me. Ah, I must say it sincerely. I worked with a company that has drained me to almost like it has led to me almost, let me not say losing my mind, but you just know that there is this part of your mental health that is not okay. You know, how do they do it? You say you want to book clients for inspection. Inspection is okay. They will even allow your client to come for inspection. They won't even stress your client for inspection. But you see documents. I've had a company that has taken 1 year to prepare a document. Like, how bad can it get? How bad can it be? 1 year to give a client his documents. Then another like 6 months, 3 months to be allocated the land that to show the clients our plots. Took another 3 months or 6 months. Every time that a client buys a property, makes payments, you are trying to get confirmation, you are trying to get the client's receipt to send to the clients, and they're giving you headache. They will not send it to you on time. They will take months to send it to you. Then to your own commission as a realtor, they won't send your commission to you on time. They'll send your commission 2 months, 3 months after that client has made payment. So you'll be thinking, because that's what comes to my mind, and I'll be like, but wait, so when they receive this 1 million naira from my client, when they receive this 2 million naira from my client, should be they received it with open arms. Should be they collected it, they were happy, they did not see that their account was not reachable. But all of a sudden, now that they are supposed to pay my commission, I am now hearing that accounts, you have to use the bank. You have funny excuses. They will drain you. So it's important you work with companies. It's very important. Don't just say, this company is paying me. In fact, recently, not even recently, I don't know what I'm saying recently all the time. Some months ago, I was talking with one of the MDs of that particular company, and I was like, sir, I can't deal with this again. I'm tired of this. They make me go through a lot for my clients. They will not give my client documents on time. They will not even give my clients allocation on time. I was like, sir, I can't do this again. No. I want to run. I just see a company now that has properties in this Benin City, for example, or in this location, for example. Then I'm going to leave them. I'm going to hands up. So I was talking to him, and he was like, that company you're talking about, do they pay up to our company? Hey, and I was like, sir, I know that money is good. I know that I need money as much as I can get. But you see that 15% they are paying, I will do 10% for my peace of mind. Yes, I will do 10% for my mental health, and that is what I'm doing today. The company I am currently working with, within 5 days, the client's documents are ready, and within that same 5 days, if the client is ready to come for allocation, they will allocate that client. That's what I want for my client, and that's what I want for my own mental health. So I told him that even if they're not paying up to 15% that people are paying, I'm willing to let go of 15%. I'm not saying that I don't like money, because he was not saying that, so you're saying that you don't like money. Don't say it, so don't say that. So and I was like, sir, it's not like I'm saying that I don't like money, but I don't want the money. But this is me to do it at the detriment of my clients, at the detriment of clients that have worked hard for their money, that I have worked hard to get them to pay. I have followed them up. I have followed them up. I have done all that there is. Finally, they now paid. So your documents will not spoil show for me. Your documents will not make me not to bring people away, not to bring their referees my way. No, it won't work. So it is very important to work with a client, with a company that will not give you stress. Seriously. And how will you know? Is by track record. Ask them what have they done so far. What are their track record? Initially, when I started with that company, I heard good things about them. I found that I heard good things about them. When I heard good things about them, I also talked to a coach, and she was like, it's fine, it's fine. Until when things became bad, and she said, no, if you can run, Messi, run, run. And that time I was still like, maybe it's not that, but maybe it's not that bad. And that's the stage. I learned the hard way. And that is a road I will never want to take again. So please and please find out that track record. Have like this company that I currently work with now. I've been working with this company for up to a year now. How did I find out about them? I found that I asked them about their former properties that they've been selling, their former estates. I asked their barrister, because I knew their barrister, the barrister of the company was a good friend of mine. So I asked the barrister, how is the company like? How is the documentation process? Actually, like how she handles their documents, and it doesn't take time at all. They work with timing, a great timing. And I was like, wow, wow. And that was how I started. And I really, till today, we celebrated our anniversary recently, and I was like, thank you for giving me great mental health. And I was not joking with those words. I meant every of those words I said. So please and please don't just say for the money. They're gonna pay me 50%, they're gonna pay me 20%. So therefore, if there's anyone at company like that, to which I am still dragging my legs away from them because of the way they are still doing. So please, you don't have to learn the hard way. And if somebody tells you, if a realtor tells you from experience, don't feel that they don't want you to eat the good of the land. Don't feel they don't want you to make money. So if you learn the hard way, trust me, clients would have left you by the time you now realize you're wrong. Clients would have left you, and you would be regretting if I had known, because you would have lost client that would have paid you so much money. So please, for your mental health, for the safety of your clients, at least for your peace. Because I even told him to, I told the MD that I was discussing with about that company, I was like, apart from even my own mental health, I want my clients to be satisfied. Like, don't you derive joy? Just for example, so that my patients are fine. They leave the clinic, they are happy. That maybe there was a misconception they had before, and now I now explain it to them, and they now feel confident in what they now understand. They are going home with solutions. It gives me so much joy. Don't you want to have the same joy that your clients are satisfied, that they got the document as at when you said it, that they got whatever they needed to get? Will you be happy now? So I want to think that I want my client satisfaction, and that is on period. So please, your client should be satisfied with what you are giving them. So that's why you should prioritize the company you work with per time. And there's no crime in working with just one company. There's no crime. Tony even posted it recently, not recently, long time ago. So everybody recently. So she was like, she works with only one company. So there is no issue of it one company. If that one company has properties in all the locations you want to sell in, that you have clients in, then you are good. So please don't be of the idea that I must work with separate companies. One company must have property here, one company must have property here. So what end when one of them now falls your hand? So please and please, companies very I know I get a lot of this also because it is a very, very wonderful space. All right, so with that I come to the end of my session. All right, so if you have questions in the house, on Facebook, on YouTube, you want to ask questions maybe as an investor or as someone that's looking to invest, or you are a realtor, an aspiring realtor, you want to start the business of real estate and you have questions, please drop them in the comment section. I'll quickly attend to them as we wrap up. So I'm checking on Facebook if I have questions. So if you have questions as a realtor, as an investor, quickly put them in the comment section as we wrap up. So I'm checking on Facebook if I have questions. So if you have questions, any question about investing, about um, real estate as a business, if you're looking to go into real estate, okay. Since we don't have any question, please quickly drop your question now. Don't come and be like Okpe Victor that dropped his question when Barrister had left. So if you have questions, please drop in the comment section so that we can quickly take them. Okay, now just wait for like okay 3 more minutes thereabouts, and then we can call it a day. Wow! So the Real Estate Conference 2024. Amazing, amazing, amazing sessions from Madam Landlady, Mr. Kiki yesterday on speaking to realtors about getting clients. You see, if you notice, I didn't do so much about getting clients because my mama has taken care of that already. Talk about getting clients and retaining them. It's not just about getting clients, but they keep buying from you because it's not just to buy property once, so you need to keep adding to your portfolio. So you want to make sure that they keep buying from you, they keep coming to you, right? And also we had Mr. Goswin Akan talked about marketing as a realtor, branding as a realtor, why you must brand yourself, things you must take note of. Then we also had a barrister today, talked about property law. I'm going to forward these questions to him now. Okay, so and I talked about investors and the questions they should be asking apart from C of O, which is very, very important as well, but there are other documents, other legit documents, other genuine documents. So if there's no question in the house, I'll just wait for like. Okay, we have 2 more minutes to go. If you have questions on YouTube, on Facebook, two more minutes. I want to say a special thank you to all our participants, both those that could join and those that could not join. Thank you so much. We're going to be having the recording here on YouTube and on Facebook. So you can go watch, even rewatch, keep watching, to be more abreast with information so that you know what decisions to take as a realtor and as an investor. Very, very important. Special gratitude also to our speakers, Mr. KK, Mr. Goswi Akan, Barrister James Etsusi, Mr. KK, Madam Landlady. Thank you so much for gracing us with your time, with your information. We are so grateful for this experience. Okay, and a time. All right. So, okay, if you have any questions after now, maybe you can drop on the group if you're in the group, and we'll attend to them. Thank you so much. It has been the Real Estate Conference, 2 days of massive value, 2 days of great impact. And we're trusting that as a realtor, you are going into the market to thrive, you are getting better, you're treating your clients' satisfaction with utmost importance. And as an investor, you are asking the right questions that you should be asking. You're asking the right questions and you are making the right investment. So they will come your way again. Follow me on you can subscribe to my channel on YouTube where I share information about real estate and I also share information about some of the properties that we have in various locations because real estate investment is a very, very good way to scale your journey, to create a legacy for yourself, for your children, even if they are unborn. It's a great way. Even as a young person, I have many young investors, a lot of young investors. So there is no crime in starting an investment very early. That is the best. And when you get married, when you start getting other engagements, you'll be feeling like you have so much to spend on and you might not want to spend again. So it is very important to start early. All right. So I come your way again. This is Dr. Mercy Agbede, the convener of the Real Estate Conference. Thank you so much for being a part of this great conference. I'll see you next. See you now. Bye.